Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming to the North Andover Historical Society at the Worden Theatre today. My name is Joanna Kerr and I'm the Executive Director. We are so fortunate to have incredibly talented people living in our little pocket of the Merrimack Valley. In our All the World's a Stage theatre program, lifelong North Andover resident Dr. Robert Kellen has generously donated the scripts of several plays for us to work to the North Andover Historical Society in collaboration with the Acting Out Theatre Company. Robert Kellen has directed these plays, and the very talented actors from Acting Out, under the leadership of Linda Shoemaker, who is the director of Acting Out, will be playing Suspended Lives today. Mr. Kellen is going to give you a little bit of introduction into today's program itself. I just wanted to give you a little background on the Worden Theatre. This is a solar-powered theatre. In fact, the entire building, owned by the North Andover Historical Society, is pretty much net zero. So we have solar power and geothermal systems for heating and cooling and for powering our electricity. If you would like to join the North Andover Historical Society, you're welcome to join. We have membership information outside in the lobby. We also have a wonderful cafe that will be open just for a little while when the program is over, if you wanted to grab a cup of tea. And then you are welcome to make donations in a couple of the donation boxes that we have outside. This is going to be an amazing series of plays. We have one every month. Saturday afternoon. The dates are actually on the piece of paper that we have outside. So I hope you will invite other people to come and join us as we work with Acting Out to explore these really diverse conversations and somewhat humorous stories under the leadership of Dr. Robert Kellen. Thank you so much for coming today. A couple of things. As I've mentioned to many people, no food or drink permitted in the theatre. Please look out for the two exits. We have an exit here on the right, and then we have an exit the way that you came in. And please make sure all your cell phones are off. Thank you so much, and I will now introduce Dr. Robert Kellen.
Thank you, Joanna. And thank you all for coming. I want to give you the history behind this play. But first, I want to thank Linda and Cassie, wonderful actors, and you'll see what I mean by wonderful as the reading goes on. The story behind this play was one Friday afternoon, Pauline and I were walking in Boston past Symphony Hall. And it was about 2 o'clock, and I saw there was a matinee at 2:30. So I asked, I think we should go and give it a shot. So she said yes. I went in, and I got 2 tickets, and they said, well, sorry, we just have a few tickets up in the second balcony. I said, that's fine, we'll take them. And we got in, and I asked an usher, how do I get to the second balcony? And he said, well, you take the elevator because something's about to start. But we do have a group of people who have just arrived. I think it was from Brooksby or from Edgewood. And I said, fine. So this is actually a photograph of Symphony Hall elevator. So the elevator door opened, and I'm facing this group of people, and it was rather crowded, and I looked at them. They were contemporary, so I could say what I was about to say. I said, this elevator there were too many old people in this elevator. So they started laughing, and then I leaned over to Pauline, and I said, if this elevator ever got stuck, it would be a hoot. So we left, we saw Symphony, but that muse hit me, and she wouldn't leave me alone. She kept battering, do something, do something, do something. So I sat down, in a couple of months, I wrote this play, Suspended Lives. So I'm privileged to have this wonderful theater, to have Linda Shoemaker cast this wonderful group of actors, and to have you as friends and audience to witness it. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I've enjoyed writing it. Thank you.
I everyone. My name's Linda Schoonmaker. Sorry, I know it sounds better when they say it, but it is Schoonmaker. Anyway, I'm really pleased and I'm very thankful to have been brought in on this project with Bob and Joanna and to be here at the center. It's a beautiful theater. I love it so much and I'm really pleased that we're part of it. My actors today are Jennifer Stearns, and Stephen Matthews. They're fabulous. If you've ever been to our theater or if you've seen any of our plays, I think there's at least one person out here that has. We know what they're capable of. We know they're amazing and very talented people. For those of you that don't know about Acting Out, we started 23 years ago this July in the basement of the Trinitarian Church in North Andover. And we've grown considerably over the years. We've just spent the last 17 years. We are in Lawrence right now on Island Street on the top floor above the Essex Arts Center. So if you're familiar with that, you can visit our website and see what's going on. And we'll be back here with a few more actors on May 18th. That's the next in the series. So we hope to see you then. Are we ready, Bob?
Excellent.
Okay. So I'm going to introduce our characters and where we are, although I think you guys can see where we are. Our cast of characters are Ned, a 40-something, good-looking male, professionally dressed. He's a physician. Edwina, a 40-something, attractive, professionally looking female, assistant managing director at Symphony Hall. And Mildred,
a supermodel.
and not quite 50-something.
Thank you.
Neat and casually dressed food service employee. These people are in an open elevator on the ground floor of Symphony Hall with Mildred and her cart standing in the middle of the elevator.
I'm sorry to bother you, but can you tell me how to get to my seat?
Oh, of course. You're seated on the second balcony.
Okay, do I take those stairs?
Yes, my office is on that level. You can take the elevator with me. It'll be quicker. The performance is just about to start.
Oh, I know. I'm late because the traffic was awful.
That's what happened to me, too. Hello, Mildred. How are you today?
Fine, thanks, Edwina. How are you? Here we go again. Damn old thing. Last week I was stuck in here for over an hour.
What? Joey said he fixed it.
Well, it's not Joey's fault. This elevator was put in when the building was first built 100 years ago. Joey says it's hard to get the parts for it.
I'll take it up with the board again. But in the meantime, looks like we're all going to be late. I hope this gentleman doesn't miss any of the performance. It's a really good one. Bach and Beethoven, it always packs the hall. I'm so sorry.
It's not your fault.
Since we're going to be here for a while, we might as well introduce ourselves, right? My name is Mildred, and this is Edwina.
Well, pleased to meet you both. My name is Ned, and thank you, Edwina, for trying to help me.
I wanted to get you there for the beginning of the symphony. This is so frustrating. This elevator is so old, there's not even a telephone or a bell signal in it.
Well, I've got my cell phone.
Don't even try it. There's no internet service. We're stuck. So, let's make the best out of it, right? You live around here, Ned?
Well, I live about 30 miles away right now, but I just accepted a job in the city. I'm looking for a place in the South End.
Oh, the South End. That's where you live, right, Edwina? Maybe you can help Ned find a place.
I'm sure Ned has a real estate agent looking for him.
No, I haven't, actually. I've just been looking online with no luck so far.
Well, Edwina, didn't you tell me that your neighbor from across the hall was moving out and that you were worried that some loser might move in? Maybe Ned, would be interested. He seems like a very nice young man. I mean, you're not a serial killer, are you?
Well, not anymore. With my new job and everything, I just don't have the time. But of course, if a close friend asks, Maybe just a quick hit.
And a sense of humor, you know. Edwina, she has a great sense of humor too. She always makes the staff laugh.
I get my biggest laugh when I tell people you're my friend.
Now, that's more like it. Wait, I know how we can enjoy our time together.
What are you doing?
Yeah, well, that's okay. I cleaned those floors. All right, listen.
What are we celebrating?
We are celebrating. Not on my scripts. You're handsome, but you're not smart. Okay. Listen, we are celebrating Ned's new job and find him a new place to stay. And besides, I have to open this bottle anyway, because when the little old ladies who are bussed in from the retirement home come, woo! During intermission, they can't wait to get Chardonnay. I can barely keep up with them. I'm sure they'll pass out for the second half of the performance. Everyone around them can still, hear. They think that snoring is part of the symphony.
Well, thank you.
Edwina, how large is that apartment that's across from you?
The same size as mine. 2 bedrooms, a den, a living room, kitchen.
Is that good for you and your wife or your girlfriend then?
Oh, well, it's perfect for me. I'm not married, and right now I have no girlfriend.
That is great. I mean, about the apartment size. Hey, have you guys had lunch yet?
No breakfast or lunch. I wanted to get to my office earlier than usual to prepare for the upcoming board of directors meetings.
What about you, Ned?
No, but I thought I would get here in time to have a sandwich and coffee before the performance. They told me there are 2 cafes in the hall.
Well, there are, and I was headed up to them to restock. So, turkey and cheddar sandwich, okay?
Oh, I am hungry, thanks.
Mm.
I'll split it with you, Edwina.
But I'm really too nervous to eat. And besides, how long ago were those sandwiches made? They aren't left over from yesterday, I hope. I remember having one last week and I couldn't leave the bathroom for 2 days.
These
That
sandwiches...
turkey must have died of old age, and after eating it, I thought for sure my chances of dying from old age were nil.
These sandwiches just arrived, but I can't tell you what the turkey died. They don't print that on the package, but there is an 800 number on there. You can ask. Oh, I would love to definitely know with that conversation. Anyway. So, I never met anyone named Ned before. Is Ned a nickname?
Well, yes, for Edward.
We should cut. Cricket. Mine Edward. Wait, what?
Well, let me tell you how they got Ned for Edward.
Thank you. Why'd you do that?
I looked it up, and it's from Old English.
Oh.
I read that it came from some of their mothers calling their sons mine Edward.
Mine Edward. Mine Edward. Mine Ned. My Ned. Oh! I can see that now. Well, what about you, Edwina? Think about it. If back then they called you Mine Edwina, your nickname would be Ned too. I'm gonna start calling you that.
I think I'm going to start calling you a psychiatrist. Maybe time for you to lay off the Chardonnay.
Are you kidding me? This party's just getting started, right? What do you think, Mine Edward?
Well, I had no idea that going to to Symphony Hall would be this much fun.
Believe me, it isn't.
Do you come here often?
No, this is actually my first time. I was going to look at a building in the South End, but I couldn't get in until later this afternoon. So when I passed Symphony Hall, I saw they had a matinee, and I figured, well, I'd give it a shot. How long have you worked here?
Oh, this is my 6th year. I graduated from Berkeley School of Music, majored in music management. I was an intern here and stayed on, and now I'm the assistant manager in charge of services and hiring. And you can see that I'm not doing a very good job.
Oh, I totally disagree. Mildred is awesome. And I can't think of a better welcome.
In that case, perhaps we should enlarge the elevator and put it on the list of options for patrons. I can see it now. Get high, even if your elevator doesn't. What field of work are you in?
Well, I'm a doctor. And I've accepted an offer to join a group here in town.
Well, if you're a psychiatrist, you're in the right place now.
No, I'm not, but I briefly thought about becoming a psychiatrist. Then the more I thought about it, I realized that I have so many screwed up friends who'd be looking for freebies, I wouldn't make a living. I remember when I walked into the office of the head of psychiatry to discuss the possibility. He was just getting off the telephone, and he was laughing, and immediately said to me, "Do you play tennis with someone or against someone?"
And what did you say?
I don't play tennis.
So what kind of doctor are you?
Well, I'm a dermatologist.
How did you decide to become a dermatologist?
Well, my sister came down with a very aggressive melanoma, and we didn't have the treatments that we have now, so she died a terrible death. It could have been prevented if the doctor she was seeing picked it up earlier.
How do you catch a melanoma?
Well, you can't catch it from anyone. It's caused by the sun. It looks like a freckle that has been irritated.
You mean like this?
How long have you had that?
I don't know exactly. It's been there a little while because every time I go to get my hair cut and color, the hairdresser said my freckle is getting bigger. Oh my God, but I really can't see it. What do you think about it?
I can't look just by looking at it, but she really be checked out at a biopsy.
There is no health insurance at this job. I can't afford to get any. And Lena keeps saying that they're going to do something about it, but they haven't. They haven't. They give the managing staff, but I thought you were going to do something about it.
I don't make those decisions. I wish I did, but I can tell you the insurance they do give us is lousy.
But it's better than nothing.
Here, take this. The bottom number is my personal cell phone. Call me in 2 weeks. I should have my office established, and you can come over and I can do what has to be done. Now, don't you worry about your insurance. It's important. You have to promise me you will come.
Oh, I promise.
I'll make sure she makes and keeps that appointment. Here's my card with my personal cell phone on it. Please call me and I'll make sure she does what she has to do.
Well, you know, I can wait 2 weeks, but I think that thing on Edwina's thigh should be removed. I'll be in her office as soon as we get to the second balcony. I mean, you do see patients on a regular basis, don't you, Doctor?
Well, fortunately, emergencies are rare in dermatology. But of course, if I'm presented with one, it would be considered negligent of me not to address it.
Nope, I can wait and go with Mildred in 2 weeks.
Oh, it may be too late, right, Doctor?
Well, I can't say anything until I've examined the patient.
Besides psychiatry and dermatology, are there any other specialties you thought about going into?
Yes, I thought about geriatrics.
What's that?
It's treating old people, isn't it? I didn't know they had a specialty just for that.
Huh. Well, if you'd gone into that and then had an office right next door to this place, which during the The Matinee. It's like a nursing home on steroids. You could have made a fortune.
I never thought of that. I bet we could make a fortune selling Geritol during matinee performances. In the meantime, what you have here goes down pretty easy.
It's funny you mentioned nursing homes. Having to make all those nursing home visits were a factor in my deciding not to go into that specialty.
You know, I went into a nursing home last week. I went to go visit my Uncle Phil. So I'm standing there outside the elevator, right, waiting for him to come down. He comes out of the elevator. He is cracking up. So I'm like, what is so funny? And he said he was just in the elevator the other day with his friend Marvin and this old broad who, like, she's not really remembering a lot of stuff. So when he walks in the elevator, she says to him, TGIF. And he turned around, Marvin turned around and said to the woman, SHIT. And then the woman says, no, I don't think you understand. I said TGIF, that means thank God it's Friday. And he said, oh, I understood. SHIT stands for shit, honey, it's Thursday!
I also have an uncle with a great sense of humor. He was a stand-up comic for a while.
Oh, I love going to YouTube and watching some of the great stand-up comics. Guys like Henry Youngman, Benny Hackett, Don Rickles, George Allen, and Jackie Mason.
Then you really would enjoy meeting my Uncle Harry. He always has a joke, and some of them are so funny I can never get to the punchline without breaking up.
Well, tell us one. Oh, but first, hold on. I got some brownies that I made to give to Joey. He told me last night he was looking for a midnight snack, and so, you know, he wanted some. So I make them in a very special way. Just the way he likes them.
Last night, at midnight, Joey, I didn't know you two were, how should I say this, friendly.
Hey, just because we're sleeping together doesn't mean that we're friendly.
These are unusual. There is something different in them. I don't know quite what it is. But they're wonderful.
I've got to admit it, Mildred. I didn't know you were such a good cook. These are fabulous.
Well, here, have another one. Now, back to those jokes. Your Uncle Harry told you it broke you up or something.
Okay, here's one of my favorites. This elderly woman goes to a new primary care doctor and she's having her history taken. And after a number of the usual questions about age and diet and exercise, the doctor almost apologetically says, I have to ask you this question, but do you and your husband still have intercourse? The woman replies, hold on a minute, I'll be right back. And she opens up the waiting door and yells out, hey George, the doctor wants to know if we still have intercourse. And George yells back, how many times do I have to tell you what we have this Blue Cross Blue Shield?
That reminds me of one of those jokes I heard on YouTube. The guy said, now I know why my first wife liked Chinese restaurants. It's because wonton spelled backwards means not.
I want you to know that at Nina hates Chinese food, so you won't have any not now worries.
Okay. Since you want to be funny, it's your turn to tell a joke.
Oh, I can't remember jokes. But I do love those cartoons in the New Yorker magazine. Yeah. And one of my favorites is this this cartoon, and it shows this attorney, and he's leaning over his client after having lost the case, and he's saying, of course we're going to appeal, but in the meantime, try to escape. Wait, I want to get serious for a moment. Can I ask you a question?
Well, sure.
It's not just jokes that I can't remember. Lately, I've been forgetting a lot of things. Like, how do I know if I'm not getting that Alzheimer's thing?
Well, look, all you hear nowadays is news about someone who has or is getting Alzheimer's. It's a terrible condition, but just because you forget something from time to time does not mean you have it or are going to get it. We all experience some degree of forgetfulness.
But how do you know what's normal and then what's not normal?
Well, when we were in medical school, they told us there are several types of normal memory difficulties.
Like what?
Well, like sometimes we forget some things because we didn't pay enough attention to them, because we were doing or thinking of something else at the same time. And we've all tried to remember the name of someone, and we keep coming up with similar names to the one we want, and it drives us crazy.
That happens to me all the time. Like I see someone I know walking toward me and I can't remember their name. It's so embarrassing and frustrating.
Exactly. Also, as we grow older, we can absorb fewer details because of more trouble processing information rapidly. That's age-related normal. Now look, we don't run as fast as we used to either. And finally, it's important to know that it works the other way too. Sometimes we are tormented by memories we wish we could forget. When those traumatic memories persist, they can lead to depression and post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Oh, my cousin Lois had that. Bad. I remember as a kid just sitting in the room with him and my dad, and then we heard this car backfire, and then my uncle screamed and ducked under the kitchen table.
Exactly. So there you have it. All those things are considered normal reasons for memory lapses.
That was impressive.
Sure was. I mean, if you can remember all that, I mean, then you don't have a problem.
And neither do you. What you're experiencing, everyone experiences to some degree at one time or another. So, do you feel better now?
I mean, that's a lot to take in, but I think so. Thank you.
No problem. Now let's change the subject and keep enjoying this wine and brownies.
Woo!
You know, Mildred, when you mentioned the New Yorker lawyer cartoon, I remembered a cute little lawyer doctor joke. Now, during a party, a doctor was telling a lawyer how he's sick and tired of his friends asking for free medical advice all the time. Well, the lawyer says, just do what I do and leave them a bill in the mailbox. Doctor thinks about it. He says, I like that idea. I think I'll try it. When the doctor gets home that night, he's got a bill in his mailbox from the lawyer.
I have to tell you, it's not just lawyers. Some doctors are just as bad. My uncle told me this story. A doctor tells his patient he can only give him 6 months to live. When the patient tells him he's sorry, but he won't be able to pay the doctor's bill because he won't have enough time to raise the money, the doctor gives him 6 more months.
Hey, Mildred, I just figured out what this unusual taste is in the brownies. You know, I was given a marijuana gummy once with the same taste. How much of this stuff is in these, and how'd you get it?
First of all, I just want both of you to know that I read that marijuana would help me with my health problems. And when I found out that I don't have to smoke the stuff, I asked my doctor for a prescription to help me with all the issues that I've been having.
If it's for all the issues you have, I hope he gave you a prescription for a ton of it.
Yeah, don't worry. When he found out that you were friends of mine, he gave me unlimited refills.
Okay, that's enough for you two. I need to wash this down with something. Do you have any more of that wine?
Plenty. And I hate to waste it. We've already missed the intermission service. And besides, Edwina can write it off as a hardship expense, can't you?
I guess you're right. I would say it was necessary for us to stay hydrated. Hydration is important, especially during a hardship, right, Doctor?
Absolutely, but this is hardly a hardship. I mean, you can call it whatever you like, but all I can tell you is if that I knew being stuck in an elevator could be this much fun, I'd highly recommend it. I suppose we can also claim that the brownies are necessary to prevent hypoglycemia.
Well, I got plenty. I made 2 dozen for Joey. Anyway, you know what? My ex-husband had a head for knowing about the wine and liquors.
Oh, that he would have loved this joke. So, at an old saloon in the Bronx, this guy pulls up in a limousine. He gets out, he goes into the bar, which is empty except for one drunk sitting at the end of the bar and the bartender watching a football game on TV. The man sits down and says, "I want a shot of your 20-year-old bourbon." The bartender, without taking his eyes off the TV, reaches under the bar, grabs a bottle, grabs a shot glass, pours it, hands it to the man. The man drinks it, and then throws the glass against the mirror, shattering it. The bartender turns around and says, "What, are you crazy?" The man says, "I ordered and paid for 20-year-old bourbon, and you gave me 7-year-old bourbon." The bartender pulls out the bottle and says, "Huh, you're right." He's like, "All right, try this." So he pours him another one, gives it to him, and says, "You're getting closer, that's 16-year-old bourbon." Bartender's like, all right, I think I got what you want down in the basement." He's like, "Keep an eye on this game for me, I got a lot of money riding on it." So the bartender goes down to the basement, comes back up with a bottle, pours him another glass, hands it to him. The man takes a sip, he's like, "Now that, my friend, is 20-year-old bourbon. I don't even have to look at the label. You know, we could have saved a lot of time if you just given me this to begin with." Well, in the meantime, the drunk is sitting down at the end of the bar watching this, and he had a buddy just walk in. He nudges his buddy, and he says, "Hey, watch this." So the drunk walks down to the guy, and he says, "My good man, I couldn't help but notice that you are able to tell not only the drink, but the year of the drink when you take a sip." He's like, "How do you do that?" And he says, "Well, I have many years of study, and I have a very refined palate." The drunk thinks about it for a minute, and he says, "Do you mind if I do a test on you?" The man says, "Well, sure, go ahead." So the drunk walks off to the bathroom, comes back out with a cup, hands it to the man, he takes a sip. He spits it out. He goes, "That's urine." The drunk goes, "Right again, my friend." Now, how old am I? No, this is not my first elevator drama.
No?
Mm-mm. When I was an intern, I was told a patient was going to be discharged. And as I walked by the room on my way to leaving the hospital, there was a gentleman sitting on the bed. And there was a packed suitcase on the floor. So I walked into the room with the wheelchair and insisted he get in, which he hesitantly did. I picked up the suitcase and wheeled him to the elevator of the hospital lobby. Now, he kept insisting he could walk. And when he kept trying to get up, I authoritatively told him to sit down, and that's the hospital's rules were that any patient being discharged had to leave the hospital in a wheelchair. I asked him if his wife would be waiting for him in the lobby, and he said, "No, because she's in the hospital bathroom changing so she can leave."
You can't even make that up. That is hysterical. I was just thinking, in the old days, they certainly could have used doctors continuously riding in elevators in every one of the great symphony halls.
Why is that?
Because so many of the greats had medical problems. For instance, Handel and Bach both had vision problems in their 60s, secondary to failed cataract surgery. And Beethoven started losing his hearing at the age of 28 and was completely deaf by 44. At the performance of his Ninth Symphony, he had to be turned around to see the audience applauding because he couldn't hear it. And then there's that famous unsolved mystery about Schubert's unfinished symphony in B minor. Today's medicine may have prevented that from even happening.
How?
Well, Schubert contracted syphilis and began to suffer from depression and failing health. And he was also nearly paralyzed by a growing jealousy of his contemporary Beethoven's extraordinary symphonic work. So perhaps some antibiotics and antidepressants would have allowed him to finish the symphony.
You're probably right. There were no antibiotics in those days. All they had were very rudimentary options. Even their diet had no or very little nutritional focus.
So, speaking of diet, do you cook?
Not at all, but I love to eat. Do you cook?
Yeah, I like to experiment with new recipes. And I like reading about the history of cuisine. Did you know some of the most famous composers have interesting favorite recipes?
What were they?
Well, Mozart, for instance, loved liver dumplings and sauerkraut. Stravinsky loved royal jelly honey. Wagner was a vegetarian. But all the best and tastiest recipes came from Rossini.
What are they? I know he was famous for composing The Barber of Seville, but I didn't know about his interest in food.
He was very interested in food. His two most famous recipes are tornadoes alla Rossini and chicken alla Rossini.
Oh God, am I supposed to say something? That sounds delicious, don't you think, Ned?
Absolutely.
My favorite is chicken alla Rossini. I like to make it with chicken thighs, sauteed in olive oil and butter with onions, and I place everything with a slice of semi-soft provolone cheese in the oven and serve it over pasta.
Those sound delicious. I love Italian.
Oh, then it's settled.
What's settled?
What you're gonna serve Ned when you invite him over to your apartment tonight so that he can see if he wants to buy the apartment across from you. That's the same layout, right?
Yes, but
No bucks. Okay. I know you're free tonight because you asked me if I wanted to go to the movies with you.
No, because of this delay, I'm sure Edwina has a lot of work to catch up on. And doesn't have time to get all those ingredients. No, it's too much of an imposition.
Oh, no, it's not an imposition. Don't worry about the ingredients. When we get off this thing, the intermission service will be over, so I'll have plenty of time to go pick up the ingredients and drop them off at Edwina's place. So, you take your time when you're examining her in her office, and then, if you have to do a more complete exam, you can continue that in her apartment after dinner. So, it's settled, okay? And I don't want to hear otherwise. And if I do, I'll just let this damn thing on my neck keep growing. So it's settled, and I don't want to hear another thing about it. Now, Edwina, on a completely different note, is it true that Zachariah is going to be retiring?
yes, the board thinks it's time for us to have a younger and more energetic conductor.
Oh, well, I hope with less of an attitude.
That I doubt. Conductors are all the same.
Temperamental?
Yes, they all are. Do you know what the difference is between a conductor and God?
No.
God never thinks he's a conductor. But speaking of Zachariah, he's probably going ballistic right now.
Well, it doesn't take much for him to go off the rails, but what's going to set him off this time? I mean, he won't care for your leg.
What's that?
It's Martin Zachariah's baton. He dropped it, and it needed to be repaired, and I picked it up this morning.
So what's he using now?
Well, you know what? He can use one of these croissants. I don't know how long it's been and when they were made, but I'm sure the baker died of old age.
He could be using anything, sometimes even a rolled up sheet of music.
So it doesn't have to be made of any special material or any particular length?
No, they usually run between 1.5 to 2 feet long, but years ago some conductors were using very long wooden rods, about 6 feet long. In fact, a conductor was killed by one once.
How?
They used the long baton to tap out the tempo of the music on the floor of the stage, and this one conductor hit and cut his foot, and it became gangrenous, and he died.
Well, the same thing would happen if he hit his foot with one of these things.
Wait, this may be a silly question, but why do they even need a conductor? I mean, the musicians are reading the music, and they can't look up at him all the time. Is it just for show, or just dramatic touch for the performance.
The role of the conductor is to be sure the entire composition, either a concerto or a symphony, is presented exactly how the composer intended, as far as timing, fluidity, tonicity, and intensity. Each musician is only playing a part of the tapestry, and that tapestry is only as beautiful as those parts are woven together. I'm sure it could be done, a symphony without a conductor, but that would be like performing a play without a director.
I know a little more about that. I dated an actress once, and I know she relied heavily on the director. She told me that the director is essentially the audience, and in that capacity works to create through stage directions, dialogue, tempos, inflections, settings, and even lighting, the best possible theater experience for the audience.
Well, if I wanted to create the best possible experience for the audience in this place, I'd had them print a cross and skull bones on the side of this food and beverage cart. When speaking of food and beverage, are they going to give that old prima donna Zachariah retirement party?
There's been no talk about a retirement party, but the board of directors is trying to come up with a decent retirement package for him. I don't know how they're going to come up with a figure that'll please him.
The way they pay around here, I doubt they will. Look at what all the musicians get for a salary.
Don't they get paid well?
Are you kidding? Ugh. You know what the difference is between a musician and a large cheese pizza?
No?
A large cheese pizza can feed a family of 4.
Funny, but unfortunately true.
You know, speaking of retirement plans, I have a story that you can share with your board of directors that may get them thinking. Now, the Army decided they had too many generals, so they said they would have to retire 3 of them. And what they wanted was a plan that would properly compensate them for their service to the country. So they said to the 3 generals, pick any 2 spots on your body, and we will measure it and give you $10,000 per inch. So the first general stands up. He puts his arm straight up in the air and he says, measure me from the tip of my index finger all the way down to my right toe. So they did that, and they paid him $10,000 per inch. Second general stands up, does the same thing, except he stands up on his tippy toes. They pay him the appropriate amount. The third general doesn't get up, he just sits there and he says, I want you to measure me from the tip of my right kneecap all the way up to my testicles. The corpsman says, sir, I don't think you understand. You want the greatest distance to get the most amount of money. The general says, young man, I said measure me from my kneecap up to my testicles. Okay. So the corpsman gets down, he starts measuring, and he gets up underneath his boxers and he says, General, where are your testicles? The general leans back, smiles, and goes, in Vietnam.
Guess what? You're not going to believe this. Either Renette's memory lecture or the stuff in the brownies did it.
Did what?
I just remembered that last night Joey gave me a key to the elevator in case something happened.
So all this time you could have made this thing work?
I'm not sure, but Joey said that it should work. Now, let's see where this key goes.
Well, it looks like we're off and the party's over. I'm almost sorry you found the key.
Well, what can I say? Ned just explained how memory could be affected by so many things, but Ned, I disagree. This party is not over. I think it's just beginning. So, well, okay, so we're here on the second balcony, right? All right. Now, you have to immediately go into Edwina's office and go check her very extremely dangerous thing on her thigh. So here, take that. And how many times do I have to tell you both that I'm not going to go see him in 2 weeks if you don't see that, for the thing on the back of my neck.
Mildred, this is no joke. It's very important that you come to my office for me to evaluate that lesion. It could be serious.
Well, then you two go in the office, and you, young lady, you let him do his doctor thing, okay? Here, also take these. You might as well finish them because they're going to get tossed. And, Maybe she might need a full body checkup, you know? All right, take the brownies, go. All right. We don't want you getting hyperglycemic now. Okay. Hey, you know what? I just thought of something really hilarious. Remember how I said that the two of you could have the same first names? What if you had the same last names and you got married and then your kids would have like crazy first and last names? Okay. Lots of kids. No? Does anybody want a special brownie?
Well, thank you. That was Suspended Lines. Thank you to these amazing actors from Acting Out in Lawrence. Hope you enjoyed the show. The cafe will be open for a little while if you are looking for a cup of tea. And hope you come back to our next showing in May, on May the 18th. And then we have on the North Andover Historical Society website a list of all the dates for the future plays that we have between now and the end of the year.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.